Hey, so this morning, like everybody else in this part of the world, we all woke up to the news about this horrific tragedy that had happened in Christchurch, New Zealand. And the details about this are still coming out. And of course, I'm not an expert on it, but early indications are that this was an act of violence driven by beliefs that a gunman had, and that you had a group of people targeted because of their religion. And when something like this happens, part of what it feels like is, well, what can I do? Is there any way I can do something for this? So what we do on this channel is we share thoughts that we hope will do some good. Our team got together and just gathered what we felt like was relevant to this conversation about the whole human race being able to get along. And we just want to share it with you to add it to your resources as we all process this in our own ways. So one theme that's almost the bedrock of everything Swedenborg says about beliefs and about religion and about the principles that get you to live your life in the way you do is that love for others is the most important thing. And that to have any love for others, we have to not harm them or do evil to them. This is from True Christianity 407. Swedenborg writes, "Loving our neighbor is intending and doing good, not only to neighbors, friends, and good people, but also to strangers, enemies, and evil people." And since we don't necessarily know what other people's motivations are, so we can't, I know you're good, I know you're not good. What it really says to me is that we need to not be doing evil to anyone. That we have to, you can't get a belief system that kind of co-ops. It's okay to this particular set of people, I can do anything because my belief system justifies it. That there's no room for that. Also, Swedenborg makes this point over and over that religions of all kinds actually exist and get along in heaven, because what religion does at its core is leads people to love other people and not do evil. This is from Divine Providence 3:26. Belief in God and refusal to do evil because it is against God are the two elements that make a religion a religion. The Lord has provided that there should be some religion almost everywhere, and that everyone who believes in God and does not do evil because it is against God should have a place in heaven. Heaven seen in its entirety looks like a single individual whose life or soul is the Lord. In that heavenly person, there are all the components that there are in a physical person, differing the way heavenly things differ from earthly ones. So to make a body work, you have all these different systems and little organelles up to the cellular level, up to organs, systems. They all have to be working in harmony for the whole thing to go. If there are to be all these elements in the heavenly person who is heaven, it cannot be made up of the people of one religion only. It needs people from many religions. So all the people who make these two universal principles of the church central in their own lives have a place in the heavenly person. That is, in heaven. And that heaven, that's what the human race is destined to do. That's why we're here, is to come together and create that community. And it's not like, okay, we can make this thing work even though we're different. Swedenborg says, and this was, I think, shocking when he said it, and shouldn't be shocking nowadays, is that religious plurality and plurality of people makes heaven better than it would be otherwise. He says, heaven is where the Lord is recognized, trusted, and loved. The different ways he is worshipped, in variations that stem from the differences of activity from one community to another, do not cause harm but bring benefit, because they are a source of heaven's perfection. Heaven is then a single whole composed of a variety of elements arranged in the most perfect form. For of all forms, the form of heaven is the most perfect. And this is a form that we can only make by all coming together. This is the goal. So heaven sounds awesome. It also sounds far away, and you can see things like this happen in the world and just feel like, why is the world like this? Well, we could get the world to be a lot more heavenly if we just were all really focusing on, let's not do evil and let's make love the most important thing. Swedenborg has a remarkable statement here in Secrets of Heaven. And here he's talking about different religious denominations, which we can apply to all different kinds of groups. These names for different denominations grow out of doctrine alone. So the only reason there's these divisions is they have differing ideas, which would never happen if we considered love for the Lord and charity for our neighbor the chief concern of faith. It's not that we wouldn't have different systems of belief and practice, but look at what it would mean. If we did, those distinctions would simply be differences of opinions on the mysteries of faith. One church would come out of all the different churches, and all disagreement due to doctrine alone would vanish. Not that everyone would look the same and be the same, but that we would be able to harmonize and respect. Okay, that's your opinion on this. This is mine, but the most important thing is love. And he says, even the hatred of one denomination for another would melt away in a moment. And when that melts away, the Lord's kingdom would come on earth. So if you want to look a little more into this subject, we compiled a couple of things that we'd done before. We explored the spirituality that unites all faiths in our episode, The Spiritual Reality Behind All Faiths. We also looked into a similar thing in this short clip, Many Religions, a Single Heart. Again, looking at that, the form of heaven and why, we're all getting together to make it. And this kind of stuff is still happening. People are operating out of this hatred or delusion or whatever it is, and it's causing this immense suffering and wounding of all kinds. And we actually talked to the parents of someone who was killed in a violent attack, and they got to talk about how, not that anything's going to erase that, but how certain principles could give them hope and comfort. So we had a show that was called Angels After Terrorism. And then finally, we had a program called How Angels Take Care of Us When We Die, because we think about, there's the pain we all have to go through here and the maelstrom that comes out of all kinds of tragic events. But I don't know, to me, to imagine that the people at the center of it, that you feel like, they're torn apart by this violence, that actually their journey that starts immediately is one of comfort and love. So in that way, it's just good to remember that the Lord's hands are around everybody, even in the middle of something like this. So that's what we thought of, and hopefully that again gives you a little something else as you go about figuring out, how do we keep going forward and bringing this love that we know is the right thing out into the world and try to get that heaven on earth.